pretty good at my job. I also think that I have a really good handle on what my team looks for in things. So when I give an option of like getting on a Zoom with me, so I get it, you don't want to spend the money to come into an audition in person, but why wouldn't you jump on a Zoom and work with me, especially if I don't know you that well? Like, don't worry about a connection. We all understand the problem with technology, but this is your opportunity to get to know the humans behind the bullshit and like create relationships, because we all know this business is about relationships. It's not who you know, it's how you work with the people you know. And work begets work. And so like, don't limit yourselves because it becomes more comfortable for you to do these things where you can self-tape and just like, at midnight, which bless you all, that's horrible, and send it off when it's convenient for you. I get the convenience of it, but if you are given the option of having a human interaction with someone in the industry as on the casting side of things who will be your advocate, and like I said, like I don't send tapes if I've never met you because I have to be the one to advocate for you. But I will say this, just know that like the self-tape thing is still very real and a very valid way to be considered for projects, especially if you can't be in the cities that you're in. And it has made my day infinitely longer. And I work weekends and I'm working crazy hours because not only am I watching the tapes, I'm Zooming with actors and I'm seeing people live and in person. So that takes up so much of my time. And you should also know from a casting standpoint, auditioning is 15% of what we do as our jobs, which I think is a little mind-boggling to a lot of people who've never been inside of a casting office.
Did you say 1-5 or 50, 15 or
1-5.
Oh, yeah.
The majority of what we do is not auditioning. It's not, it's an important part of what we do, but it is not everything. And so, again, you also hear a lot of actors frustrations, and rightly so frustrations, that they're not getting the exposure that they should be getting or the experience that they should be getting. But, when you now have 3 different avenues of being able to see people, I have to be judicious with my time. I'm never going to ask for more tapes than I can watch from start to finish. I will not be that person that like, you spent time on this, I'm going to watch the whole thing through. So it's, it's specific. And because of that, and because I'm doing all of this, I can't, I'm up till midnight, 11 midnight sometimes, working weekends just to make sure that I get everything covered when I need to get everything covered. So, take the advantages where they come. If you have the option of meeting someone new, take that option. It's important. These relationships are important, because you wouldn't be in the room if you didn't have something to offer. You wouldn't have been asked into the room. But having those interactions in those moments, it informs so much about us. Because when I talk to directors, I'm not just saying this person is a great actor. I'm saying this person is a great person because X, Y, Z. I think I've been in a very unique position to work with some really amazingly talented and gifted showrunners and directors and producers. And one of the biggest policies I have is there are no assholes on set. Truly. And I will be the first person to tell that showrunner, this actor is fucking brilliant, but these are the issues that I've had in the past, and this is what my expectation is. I let it be their choice. I'm not going to blacklist somebody for the way that they behave, but I'm going to let it be known what that is, and it's up to them to decide how they want to interact with that actor, and if they want to interact with that actor. But your audition starts with hello. It's why when we did this, this silly exercise of coming into this room as if we've never met before, that's where it all starts, that human moment, So take those opportunities where they come. And then kind of going back to these one-liners for a second, we sort of danced around it, but we didn't actually specifically say it. One of these one-liners where you're talking about environment and what are those specific things that you can give to kind of make the eye go to your tape as opposed to somebody else's is understanding what the character does. When you get these one-liners, have you ever noticed that they don't have names, that they have occupations? Immediately that gives you an idea of what you can potentially do with somebody. Waitress, bartender, worker, something along those lines. Yes, it's a person, but it's also a profession. And so having those moments of like taking the papers and like, giving yourself that distraction, being on a computer, on a phone, it's what receptionists do. It didn't say it specifically in that scene, but you already set the tone. You set the environment. I know exactly who that person is from that moment. Again, no one did anything. Everyone did great. It's just these little things that you can kind of think about when you have these scenes to make those moments fully realized. We're talking about objectives, right? And I think a lot of us talked about those objectives in our session yesterday too. What is this character's point of view? What do they want? Where are they going? Who are they talking to? Where are they? You know, the why, exactly. And so that's really important to be doing in any capacity. From this one-line scene seems like it should be a throwaway, to this 4 or 5 page scene that you get. And in I actually think a 4 or 5 page scene can be easier because you have so much more to work with and try and figure out. The trick with that is trying to figure out the different variations, because you're not going to have 5 pages of just the same energy all the way through. What is their objective? Their objective is to get to this point. How are they going to get to this point? Is it going to be linear? Is it going to be like mountains and molehills? Like, how is it going to be? And what are your strategies on getting there? And so that's why being able to break down a scene is so important. And if you don't feel like you have a good grasp on how to break down a scene and what it is that you're looking for in a scene, I would really, really recommend you to take any sort of class in kind of that sort of destruction. I work in character-driven pieces, regardless of what the genre is. And so if you cannot break down a character and understand the character's point of view or where it's coming from or where they're going, the chances of you being a part of that in a significant way is going to be really limited. So do yourself that favor as an actor and as someone who wants to do this professionally and have a long career. Learn how to do that if you don't feel like it's a strong part of your repertoire right now. It's super important. It's all about choices, right? That's what we're talking about. We're talking about choices. I'm never going to give you that choice. It's a choice you make yourself. You know what I'm saying? So because of your experience, that's what led you into those decisions that you made for your scene and for your choices. And it's totally valid, you know? But doesn't mean it's any less valid for someone else to have decided their receptionist was going to be at a table, or their receptionist was going to have paper, or their receptionist was going to be on the phone, because we've also been in environments, doctors' offices, where those receptionists are on the phone. Or in my environment, where I was on the phone and I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry, I got it. You know what I mean? So it truly, and that's what we talk about. It's all about your choices when you get a piece of material like that. And that's what it comes down to. You can decide what choices you want to make. In this particular scene, if you looked at it, it said showroom. That was the environment that you're in. What kind of showroom? Who knows? Maybe it was a motorcycle showroom. Maybe it was a fashion showroom. Maybe it was, but when you think of showroom, you do think maybe it's a little more high-end. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's like, whatever that might be. And then you make that choice. For you, it was a high-end working space. So great. No, I got to be very present with this. Again, perfectly valid choice. Doesn't make anybody right or wrong. It just makes it your specific way of looking at it. Yeah. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a specific point of view. These are just like little things, Again, when you're looking at like 5 different people back to back to back, especially when they are very similar in type, what draws your eye and what do you remember? I want to see your point of view on the character, and if that means it's a person with your hair up, maybe then the slate you put your hair down and you're just like, hi, I actually have hair. Or something like that. The one thing I will call, like, if you have a very distinctive hairstyle, or you do have a very I've had instances where, we were in a process and someone had like below ass length hair, but would always wear it up. So we had zero idea that this person had such long hair. And to their credit, I'm sure they didn't think they should say anything, but it was such a very specific thing. So we got to the point where we were like, awesome, and we love the hair up, but we actually want to do like a shoulder bob. Can we talk to you about like that? And they were like, oh, well, I've been growing my hair for like X amount of years. I don't want to cut it. Of course, like I would never want that, but it would have been nice to have known that ahead of time so that by the time we got to the point where the director was like, I'm in love with this person, but this is the look that I need for this. I mean, it was a stupid reason. They could have kept the hair and just put it up, but whatever, it's not my job. It didn't get to the point of like her potentially losing out because I did not know that her hair was as long as it. And I've known this woman for years. I've never seen her hair down. You know what I mean? So and I didn't realize it at the time. So it's it's one of those things. So if you do have something really specific that's super important to you, or to your culture, or whatever it is, like, be vocal about it and just say, listen, just FYI, I have this beautiful long hair I'm not willing to cut, but I'm happy to put it up, or I'm happy to wear a wig, or whatever it is, you know. And sometimes it comes down to that bullshit. It really does, to be very, very honest. Like, you can't control what you can't control. We're just talking about the things that you can, and the things that you can do to better yourself up. Because I also believe the objective in an audition situation is not to book the job. It's to set a presence, and like to make us all fall in love with each other and want to continue to work together. You know, if you book the job, that's like gravy on the cake. But like, this is about relationships and just trying to, you know, one, make sure that your acting is on point and tight and you know what you're doing, but also, you know that you're always down to play, because you are going to book 1% of the auditions that you have, which is sad and disappointing and fucking frustrating. And I get it. And I'm part of the problem, and I'm sorry. But, you know, it's the reality, you know? Like a guest player, a recurring character, a lead, yeah. You know, I'm fortunate that I work in a lot of international projects where accent is not something that is as much of a problem, because they are trying to appeal to a global audience. But there are certainly projects that I work on where a character is scripted as American and must be American for the story's sake. It depends on the story. You know, my job as a casting director is to understand the wants of the character and the needs of the character and the needs of the director for that character, and then help them see maybe beyond whatever the narrow view of the physicality is, especially if the physicality doesn't necessarily need to be part of the story, right? You know, it's one of those things where if they want someone bad enough, they will, and they have the money for it, they will pay for it. But if they have the choice between 2 or 3 people, and one of them more specifically fits their image of what this is, and they don't feel like they are losing out on acting, they'll go with the person that's a little bit more of that physical fit. But it's hard to say. We're going to go back to Daredevil. When I was doing Daredevil season 2, and we were trying to cast Elektra. Elektra is a character that has existed in the Marvel Universe for decades. She is Greek. She is very specifically written as Greek. But the essence of that character is like this femme fatale, brilliant martial art expert who's just like mysterious and unattainable, right? We ended up casting a Cambodian French actor for the role. Yep, exactly. Yep. Because she's beautiful and wonderful, but because she was the role. And we got such vitriol when we first did the casting. It was like, no, she's not Greek. And then everyone saw what she did, and they're like, oh yeah, she's great. So it's like, you know, there are always ways to kind of like figure it out, because it truly is about making sure that essence is right. Does that make sense? So also, like, colored contacts are a little bit easier on the production budget than some other things. Color contacts to change eye color. But I try. But I find I have more success with anybody who is on Spotlight or works with agents in the UK or in other places in Europe, because I can quite literally get anybody else in Europe except France to call me back. So I don't have that access, right? Like, it's hard to, you know, if there's someone that I want specifically, I mean, I will now have access to all of you, but like before that, would I have had the opportunity to know you and your work, right? So I would not know that I should be reaching out to you unless I saw you in something. And the stuff that ends up making it to the States from the French market tend to be these big films that, you know, are going to get distribution deals in the US, or I go to Cannes and I see something at Cannes that maybe won't get distribution, but is something really cool, or these festivals or things like that. So that's how I learn about international actors, because I watch international projects. But I can't watch every international project. I can only get the ones that I have access to. And it's a really small division of what's actually available to us in the United States in a timely way. There was a movie that like people were going on and on about out of Germany, and I didn't get it in the US for 3 years. So I'm 3 years behind the folks in Europe on being able to see a film and talk about those actors in any kind of like believable way. I will say that it's going to be easier to understand what's out in the market if you do have representation. I think, like I say, work begets work. So if you're working, people tend to want to work with the people over again, or will introduce you to other talented people that you would be working with if they enjoyed working with you. And I think that's truly what you focus on. I think the idea of, I do think you probably do need representation, especially if you want to work in an international market, because unless someone in that international market has had the opportunity to see you do something, they're not going to know you're here. Just to be really blunt, I'm not trying to be rude about it, it's just the reality. So I would get as much material as you can together, as much professional material as you can together. Work on finding an agent either in this market or in the markets that you want to work in, and continue to do work but not rely only on your agent to get you work. Because the reality is there are a lot of really wonderful actors that are represented but they're underrepresented, and that just means that the agent has a large group of talented people that they're pushing for things, and they're going to push the people that make them money probably faster and harder than the people that aren't bringing in that money, because this is a business. It's gross, especially when we're coming at it from a point of view of the art and we want to talk about it as the art, but the reality is that it is a business. And a business requires money exchanging. You should not pay anybody to be your agent, to be very clear. No one should ever ask you to pay them money. That comes from the jobs that you book. I just want to be very, very clear about that, because there's a lot of scams out there, so just be careful. But I know it's not like an easy ABC answer, right? Because it's just, but above all for me, it's like work in the market that you're in right now, build a resume, build a stable of people that you really enjoy, colleagues in all aspects of the business, directors, producers, DPs, costume designers, all of that. Create your own work that you're excited about, put it out in the world. Keep creatively invested, because I find that if you are not stuck in this sort of like waiting for it to happen, you can, and I don't think you can always will it into existence, but the momentum is the thing that helps carry through. Yeah. You also have to remember, I get between 500 and 800 emails a day, all of them business related. I do open my own email. It is my personal email address. So it's like, I see it all, I just can't respond to it all. And a lot of times when someone comes in and just, is like, think of me, I like it because I see that they're still working and it's still relevant, but unless it's like at the right time, in the moment, something that I'm actually looking for, it's not always the most effective way of reaching out. But it's a good way to keep fresh. I would say don't do that once a week. Don't expect a response. Right now I'm in this weird chain of this lovely, lovely actress who sent me her materials. I thanked her for the materials, and then she follows up with me weekly, just checking, anything for me, anything for me, anything for me, anything for me. And this went on, and I didn't respond for about a month and a half, because I was like, I finally in a month and a half, and I'm like, I appreciate that you are checking in. This is a little too much. I have your materials. If you want, check in with me once a year, just to refresh me with your new materials if you're not hearing from me. But you're on my radar. I have, I have files and files of amazing actors that I will not always have things for in the immediate. Like people that I meet today, I may not have anything for like 3 or 4 years, but it doesn't mean I've forgotten about them. It just means I just don't have anything relevant in the moment. Okay. But I've definitely had situations where I met an actor, God, one just recently that the first time I met them was 15 years ago. Beautiful, very specific, super smart, so interestingly talented. Literally not had anything for this person until now, 15 years later. And they were like, oh my God, you remember me? And I was like, of course I remember you. Because I take very detailed notes of things and I put them in my files and I have everything categorized by the way I need them categorized. And I go through that shit all the time. Like, I have a good brain, but I need help sometimes, Seriously. But it's my job to know actors, to try and know as many actors as I can, and to meet as many actors as I can, and figure out where it's relevant and where it fits in. But it doesn't always fit in, and I got to be very honest about that. It has to be the right project at the right time when it comes. I just don't know what that is yet, I'm very, very fortunate with the people that I get to work with that they trust me. They hire me for my point of view. And while we may not always agree, we always come to an understanding. But I'm the one who's putting people in front of them. I'm not going to put anybody in front of them that I don't fully believe in and can't fully back up, or can't have an intelligent conversation about in terms of all of them. And then a lot of times it ends up being collaborative, and we come together to a decision. And sometimes they make decisions and I don't agree with them, and that's okay too. It depends on the project and the role, and like sometimes it's more on the smaller roles than on the larger roles. I've been very fortunate that we all sort of come to the same place on the larger roles, but yeah, sometimes it's small. I think this is a more interesting piece when you look at it from a sort of worked out point of view. Like for me, I view casting as painting, right? I'm helping to create this painting of people. Like a Monet, when you get up really close, it's just a bunch of dots, but when you walk out back, it's this beautiful, cohesive piece. And that's how I view casting in short form or long form. Short form meaning movies, long form meaning series, where you have 8 to 15, 20 episodes, where you really want to make sure everything feels cohesive all the way through. So like, have you ever watched something and you're like, oh, that was a weird casting choice. Not because the actor wasn't good, but didn't fit with the aesthetic of the show, the tone of the piece, the energy that that's all part of the same thing. And I've certainly had instances where I think that, I like the actor, but I think this actor could have been a stronger choice for the storytelling element of it. But I'm not going to put anybody in front of them that I wouldn't be happy to see in the role regardless, So it all stems from where it comes from. But I don't like power is hard for me. I don't love that word in general. Influence, that's a better word. I like that. I'll take that. You're also talking about different creative teams, and each creative team comes with its own unique perspective and point of view and how they like to work, right? So you're taking a chance when you sign on to a project with people that you may never have worked with before, that you guys are going to sync up on how you like to work, what your work styles are, what your points of view are. I interview for jobs, I audition for jobs the same way actors audition for jobs, right? I call it auditioning. It's really an interview, but it's an audition, and I come with my point of view on a piece of material, and hopefully we're on the same page. Like the goal is to be on the same page. We want to have a cohesive team. We want to make it fun. It shouldn't be a chore. It should actually be a really joyful experience. Casting should be the most fun you have on any project. And I get that I'm selfish in that way, and I get that it's like a little bit narrow because it's what I do, but I do. It's like we're having a party. We're helping to create the world that you're going to be living in for hopefully years, if it's a series, months if it's a movie, and you can't then go into the production of it having like negative thoughts about everything that you've just done. But I've certainly met with teams that I thought we were all on the same page, and it became very clear that as we continued on that we just weren't seeing eye to eye, and it just, it sucks because like I don't want them to be upset about it. I want them to enjoy what they're doing, and I want to enjoy what I'm doing. So I do say lucky, and I think lucky is the right word because it's a dice roll no matter what you do. The same way as an actor walking into an audition room with someone you've never met, you want to hope that the connection's going to be there, but you can't guarantee it, right?
Yeah.
Luck plays a big part of this. Like you can do everything you can to prepare yourself the best way you can, but luck and timing is a lot of it too. And like that's again not something you can control. So just keep that in mind. Just try and like let that part go of it because you can't control it. I think understanding tone of comedy is probably going to be the most important thing because there's so many different approaches to tone in comedy. So it allow you to figure out how to approach the audition. But like, I think comedy is some of the hardest because it's so specific, And I can't give you real advice because. I mean, that plays a part of it too, right? Like, but it's all the research that you do. Because I'm assuming that if you're going in for a comedy where there is any kind of history to the team that's involved, it's going to be easy to figure out, right? Like you can see the director's work prior, see what their work is in comedy, what their style is, what their tone is, what their pace is, and all of that. But that's the research you're going to have to do before you go in. We get typecast the same way that actors get typecast. Have you seen like there are plenty of actors that do comedy and maybe don't break into the drama sphere for whatever reason. No one thinks I'm funny. I mean, to be honest with you, I think it's easier to go from comedy to drama than it is to go from drama to comedy. I think a lot, especially when you work with comedians, a lot of the comedy comes from pain. and trauma, and like if that person is willing to access it and lean into it, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to have all the tools they need to sustain it for the duration of the project, but I have no problem giving someone a shot in that way. I think, you know, I think that's kind of fun when you can take someone out of a genre that they're really known for and give them an opportunity or present an opportunity for them where they can kind of show what else they can do, right? Comedy is really specific. Like, it's just, you know, as much as I love it, it is, and as much as I would love to work in it at some point, it is really specific. And, you know, it is about timing, it is about pacing, it is about tone, it is all about this. It's about being quick on your feet and understanding that things are going to change and being flexible with the change. When you work in drama, there's more of a rhythm to it. There's more of a set expectation for what it is. But me personally, I'm always willing to give the shot. I've certainly worked with actors who have a very strong comedy background that don't lean into the drama, even though they want to. They just can't hook in, they can't connect to it, and they can't, at least at this stage of where they are in their lives. You know, 5 years from now, maybe it'll be different, because again, we're all changing every day. So someone that I may see 5 years ago that I was like, nah, I'll give them another shot in a few years to see what's changed and see if there's something that's grown. Because like, we're all growing all of the time, and we're all changing all of the time. And someone that you thought was really fucking brilliant and had access to everything, something happened in their life and now they don't want to access that anymore. You know, for whatever that reason is. So it's just, you know, we're in a human business, so we have to be aware of it. Especially when you get to a certain level, and you are thought of that way, be open to auditioning. I think a lot of people who say they want to do things, they're like, well, they should just offer it to me and I can prove it on the ground and do it. Don't do that. So, you know, I cannot tell you how many actors that are well respected and have careers still audition for things because they want to show what else they can do, because they don't want to continue to be pigeonholed in whatever genre it is that they've sort of become in. So don't ever get too big for your britches to audition, because I do think that is actually a really healthy way to continue to grow and shape your career. And that you want to be that part too, because I think you do discover as actors in an audition process if it's for you too, right? Like, it's not just about us making sure you can do it. It's about you wanting to make sure you're good for it too. Well, the one thing I will say is that, again, this is all very subjective, right? There are casting directors who are going to say that that one person may not be cut out. And that may be true or maybe not, but you as the actor have to make that decision for yourself. You shouldn't allow someone else to make that decision for you, right? Just because it's hard doesn't mean that it's not worth it to kind of see it through and grow your art and your talent and your toolbox. Because like, even in drama, you can't just be straight drama, because dear Lord, we'd all shove our heads through plate glass windows, because no one wants to sit there for 2.5 hours while people emote at us without any kind of levity. Holy crap, I think I would throw myself off a bridge. So, you know, I think, you know, those are important things and skills to understand, even if it's not a genre that you tend to live in any capacity, right? Like, if you really feel so akin to the drama and that comedy is just the thing you do not ever want to do, you still have to understand the mechanics of it, because you're going to have to put that into your dramatic performance. You also have the right to pass on projects that you're not interested in working on. And I think that's a thing that people don't realize as actors. I was like, you can?
No.
What?
No, sorry.
Right, but that's your choice, right? Like, I have people that pass on projects all the time, not because of content. You know, if there's some nudity involved, they don't want to do that. Or if it's like they just don't respond to the role and they don't want to put themselves in a position where they're going to do less work, like a lesser job in their performance of it. You know, if you get something and you're like, I can't see how to do this, I cannot see a way into this, there's a very polite way to say, I really love this script. I appreciate that you thought of me for this. I just don't think I can do this, and I would love to be considered for something else on another project down the line. And I 100% respect that. I have had instances where actors will pass because they don't think they're right, and I will call their agent or them directly, depending on my relationship with the actor, and be like, you're an idiot, give it a shot. And I will say 90% of the time when that happens, that actor ends up booking the role, and it turns out that they were just scared. They were just scared to go there. And that's a thing you guys have to overcome too. Like, if you are scared to go to these places, then it may not be for you. And that's also okay. There are plenty of opportunities in this business to work within this business that is not necessarily acting, but if you are going to be an actor, there needs to be a bit of a fearlessness to it. because there is so much rejection around it, and you got to be okay with it. You got to find a way to be okay with it and not make it, and not internalize it, because I don't know how you do that, but like, I would highly recommend that. Everybody get therapists. I think give it a shot. What could it hurt, especially if you feel like you're putting your best foot forward, even if you know it's not for you. I've had situations where have a realistic point of view of who you are and how you present on film. I mean, the reality is when you have something like that, a psycho killer who they want to have likability, there's already a physical presence to them that is likable. It has nothing to do with their performance, and it has everything to do with how they present. You know, like, you are who you are, embrace who you are, and that's also okay. You can't control what you can't control. That doesn't necessarily mean that what the director wants is wrong if it's not you. It just means that that's what the point of view, and that's how they want to tell the story. You know, in the same way that, again, we saw, everybody read this right. What story am I telling? And who am I telling it with? Because every single one of you could have done that job. Right? Do you know what I mean? Like, you look at that and you say, I wish I was more awake. I look at that and I say, oh, that was a choice. Do you see what I'm saying? Until you told me that you were tired and you didn't feel awake and it wasn't precise, I thought that was your choice. And I thought it was a good one. You can't hope to have other people's choices. You can only have your own. You know, you don't know what's going to get you the job, right? All you can do is go with your best foot forward, present something that makes you excited and makes you happy and is a good representation of you, and you do it. That's why you never walk into a casting office and offer excuses. You never say, I didn't sleep last night. Oh, I only have this material for a day. I'm so sorry. I'm just off my game. I'm not usually like this. Blah, blah, blah. Don't do that. Because, like, it's a little bit of that, right? Like, I had a recent audition for a project, and the woman ended up getting cast, but we called her out on it. And she's like, oh, I'm so nervous. And I'm like, you're not nervous. We know you're not nervous. This is an act. And she's like, all right, yeah, you're right. And then she did it, and she booked the job. No one needs any of that. You know, all of that is noise. You come in, you do the work, and you just do what you do, you know? But again, you're looking at it from the point of view of you're comparing yourself to others, and that's not the point of it, because you can't compare yourself to others. You are you, and no one else did what you did. I think I just saw a whole fuck ton of people doing the line all very differently. But everyone made a choice, and that's the point of it, right? I want to see people making choices, but you're sitting there saying that, well, I wish I'd made that choice, because that would have been better for me, right? That's how you're looking at this. And that's not how you should look at it. As a casting director, I look at it and I'm like, oh, I like that point of view. Oh, that person has the physicality that I need for that role. And they're smart, and they made a specific choice for that character, whether it was conscious or or not. You know, or whether they used the energy they were feeling in the day because they were tired and like, fuck, this receptionist is going to be the sleepiest receptionist I've ever had. Whatever, just go, do the thing, you know? Like, but that's the thing. All of that feeds into this and into what I see. I don't need to know your life to know that that was an interesting particular thing. I don't need to know that you woke up early to know that that was an interesting thing that you see on camera. But I do think that there is something valid to be said about, like, you looked at it as a precise, but it wasn't, you know, that's how you're interpreting it, just like everybody else is interpreting it in their own ways. You know what I mean? So that's the beauty of this. This is all so subjective. So what you're looking at is for things that, like, oh, that was an interesting approach. Maybe I want to do it that way next time. And that's okay. The question was, what are some valuable things you've learned as a cast character going through just in general in life? Be open. I mean, that's the thing that I really learned. Like, I think be open to whatever comes, whether that is a choice that I wasn't expecting, a job that I didn't think was coming, you know, because I think the more open you are to things, the more things happen the way they need to, which sounds very hippy-dippy, and I'm not a hippy-dippy kind of person, but that's the thing that I think I've value the most right now, because you can't control what you can't control. And that's the thing that I always want to control, right? Like, you want to be able to control your career. You want to be able to control every moment. You want to be able to control the direction and the choices and all the things, and you can't. You just have to be open to what comes, and if it's shitty, it's going to be a better day tomorrow. And that's the thing, you know? Oh, and never lie. Those are like the idea of being open to whatever comes and never lying. Don't lie. You always get caught. Always. I think the reality is that if someone is doing too much, I will give the direction. Let's ground it. Let's simplify it. I like what you're doing. Keep your choices, but grounded in reality. Because a lot of times when someone's going big and broad, it's more tonal than it is performance. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not that they're doing the lead of the show. They're just doing a stage performance of the show, not a film performance of the show. Because all of these, everyone had very specific things, and they were all very grounded, very simple, very understated, and they still did everything. And they were not distracting from the lead, every single person, which is very impressive because a lot of times you get at least a few people that are like over the top, but that did not happen here. You know what I mean? And so I think you're already doing what you need to do in those moments. I wouldn't second guess it. Just keep it grounded and keep it simple. Simple does not mean do nothing. It just means keep it simple. Does that make sense? Yeah. You know, training is so important in general, right? You want to keep your instrument fresh. And when you're doing film and television, you don't have the luxury of being on stage 6 days a week, 8 performances, you know, depending on the market that you're in. And when you're doing theater, like, yes, you're not in master classes, you're not, you know, in a training program, but it is a training program because you are live every day, working off of other performers, honing your craft, keeping your instrument fresh, trying to figure out things happen in the moment. I mean, your audience gets crazy, or something happens and you have to react to it and you have to stay in character and you have to do all of these things. All of that is training. So when I see on a resume someone who does theater or has trained in theater, I'm really excited. Doesn't mean you can't make the transition into film and television, because again, film and television does pay better. But what I love are actors that have such a love of theater that they do both, that they kind of go back and forth. They enjoy the love of the theater. They find the love in film and television, because if you don't love it, don't do it. Like, that's just a waste of time and everybody's energy, and why bother? But then they go back. They make the money, they go back to theater, they do the piece that they love. Then they go back into film and television, they make money. And, you know, it's like you can feed yourself and still be artistic, whatever medium you choose. I get to work with interesting people. I get to help bring stories to life in ways that I find exciting. And the good stuff far outweighs the bullshit. And I don't think everybody can always say that. Like, no, like I'm really forgiving of self-tapes, because at the end of the day, like, I don't expect you to have a professional studio. The only thing that is unforgivable is being so far away I can't see your eyes. But, like, honestly, whatever. I will make you Zoom with me. Like I said, you will be stuck Zooming with me. I think that's your personal choice. I think if you need to hook into the accent for yourself, come in the accent. Or if it's super easy to flip around, then it doesn't matter. I don't care, personally. This is the part where I feel like you're overthinking things in a way, and you're trying to guess what everybody else wants. You can't control it. Like, you come in the way you need to come in, and let it be what it is. If the casting director is telling you do it in a French accent, then do it in a French accent. And then they have that option to show or not show. But I think if you start guessing what everybody wants, you're already lost, because everybody is so subjective and wanting different things. I think it's up to you. It truly is up to you. And it can be one of those things where you can, like, make it funny. You know, you're just like, hey, this is me, but also this is me. So what would you like? You know? So, like, it's just one of those things. I think you find a way to make it work for yourself. Yeah, but you can't guess what other people want, because you'll always be wrong. I mean, part of it is because GFCA has a really great reputation of, like, of really talented actors. It's partly government subsidized, which I think is a really important piece of the puzzle. When Dylan was saying that there are actors here that wanted to understand more about the international market from an American point of view, that sounded like a really great opportunity to, like, one, meet actors, but two, also give knowledge in a way that I thought was helpful, or I hoped was helpful. But, like, that's why, you know. Also, France is cool.